We come to you now from the University of Scranton's Retreat Center here at Chapman Lake, where our diocesan seminarians have come together for their annual summer gathering. In our next segment, we'll talk with three of our newest seminarians as they reflect on their personal call to the priesthood. Nick, for each individual, it's a different story, but for you personally, how and when did your call to the priesthood come about?
My father was a deacon in the Catholic Church, and in 4th grade he taught me how to altar serve, and so instantly I just felt just a call to either enter the diaconate or priesthood. I never really thought much about it until I entered high school, and it was really senior year where I really felt just my heart open up, and I could just feel that I wasn't called to the diaconate. I was really called to become a priest. All my fear and anxiety went away, and I felt at peace, and it was the first thing I was ever 100% positive that God was calling me to do.
What do you think it is about the priesthood? Why does that ministry appeal to you so much?
I think the main parts that appeal to me are being able to administer the sacraments and also just bringing Jesus to the people and people to Jesus.
Nick, quite often when a young man decides that he is going to go into the seminary, family and friends might say, well, think about everything you'll be giving up, the sacrifices you'll be making. But do you necessarily look at it that way?
I don't look at it at all that way. I feel like having money or becoming a priest, just something about the priest and becoming a priest and just being able to have a connection with Jesus is just priceless.
Nick, the opportunity you're having today, the opportunity to meet with seminarians and other priests and other young men who are sharing your vocation, why is that such a valuable experience?
It's very valuable for me because it's my first year. I just graduated, and so it's nice to form a connection with some of the other guys and to know that I have people that are going through the seminary and then priests that are already ordained just to help and guide me whenever I get lost or...
When you come across a young man who's struggling about that call and wondering if God is indeed calling him to the priesthood, how do you handle that? What do you say to them?
I would say just the main thing is to pray and also to get in contact with the vocational director, Don Williams, Father Don. And he's helped me so much, and if it wasn't for him, I don't think I'd be sitting here today about to enter the seminary.
And what about your father as a role model? What kind of an impact did he have on nurturing your vocation?
He was such a big influence. He would always take me to Mass and to adoration, and we do a lot of things together because he was always involved in the church. So he's had a great impact on me and my decision.
Nick, I know it's hard to put into a few words, but looking at the priesthood, what would you say is probably the greatest joy of being a priest?
The greatest joy, I would say the greatest joy would probably be just having such a strong connection with Jesus. That's something I've always wanted to work on, and I feel like priests just, after all those years of seminary and even after ordained, they just have such a strong connection with Jesus, and I hope to do the same.
Kevin, you have had a life full of varied experiences, especially in the military. Tell me a little bit about that and how you made the transition into the seminary.
It's interesting because when I had actually first considered going into the military, I had planned to be an Army chaplain. But through a wide, strange set of circumstances and my scholarship that I had available at the University of Scranton, I could not take theology as a major, which you needed to enter the seminary at that point in time. So I said to myself, all right, I guess it's God's way of saying, now's not the time, I need you to do this. And next thing you know, 32 years of military service passes, but the amazing thing is that there's so much of what a good military officer, a servant leader, needs to bring into the life of a priest and certainly in the life of a seminarian, that I feel very good about that particular aspect of the transition.
What is it about the priesthood? Why are you attracted so much to that ministry?
First of all, you are part of that sacramental life of every Catholic. And you know, that's the heart and soul of our faith. So those sacraments don't happen in a lot of cases without a priest, and that's a real tremendous calling in and of itself. And then, of course, when you look at just practical life, I mean, all those big moments in a person's life, if they are truly faithful, then the priest is somehow involved. So to see the heights of joys, to be part of those sorrows, to be part of a baptism of a new life, or laying to rest somebody who was near and dear in a family that needs consolation and needs some help, and to be part of that, to bring God's grace back into their life, is just a calling. I can't imagine there being anything higher than that.
Kevin, looking back, were there any individuals in your life who influenced your vocation to the priesthood?
The most influential would be now Father Jim Nash down in Nanticoke. He was actually Mr. Jim Nash, my English teacher at Coughlin High School. He hadn't left teaching, but he had taught a class there in the Bible as Literature when I was senior that he had a profound impact from that class, as well as also encouraging us as a class advisor, and I was a class officer, to be part of the Chrism program that was held up at the Fatima Center. So, he had given us a new look at faith, and had, even on one of my papers, wrote, hey, you show some aptitude for this that may point towards a future calling. Ask God for what He thinks about that in your particular life. And that was great advice. And sure enough, here we are getting ready to enter the seminary.
When you have an opportunity to attend a gathering such as this one with fellow seminarians, does it actually help you in your discernment?
Absolutely, Dan. This is such an extraordinary group of men of wide varieties of experiences, and just you can see tremendous talent that's here. Men that are gifted in the spirit, and gifted also with the mental and the physical and emotional capacities to really take the priesthood and make it part of people's lives in the Diocese of Scranton. And the faith is so alive in the diocese. I believe that, and it's at those particular crossroad moments that great men like this are called to be part of it. So this being my first gathering, it's just been an absolute joy and pleasure to build that sense of teamwork and a sense of brotherhood that I think we'll share for many, many years. And I look forward to this gathering and continuing, and of course for those in the future.
Kevin, obviously God has been working quietly in your life over the last several years, guiding you to this point. How grateful and blessed do you feel today?
I kind of feel even just a little emotional about it, because to be able to give thanks to God and to praise Him, and to look at how a successful military career has brought me to this point in time where now I think God is saying, you're now ready to take this step, and then this is going to make you someone who's going to be a better priest, and somebody who can help bring people to me. I look at that and say nothing but just the deepest of gratitude, heart overfilled with joy and love for God, for those opportunities, and certainly to look ahead and ask Him for the grace to persevere and continue if it is His will. Ultimately, I tell people, it's not about us, it's about God. And so if we try to conform ourselves to God's will, no matter how long it takes to get there, be it 32 years, I think if we try to, we're going to get there, and keep that heart open. So,
Jonathan, you're coming from an interesting background. You're actually giving up a law practice in order to go into the seminary. Tell me a little bit about that and why you made that decision.
Well, I opened my own law practice about 5 years ago in Kingston. I practiced for about a year as a lawyer before that. Becoming a priest is something I always thought about since I was about 6 or 7 years old. It was always something I put off until later, something I would always think about later. Before going into law school, I was praying. I prayed to God, and I said, help me out here. What should I do? And I asked God if He would let me go to law school. Let me do that. And after I get out of law school, I'll seriously discern the priesthood. I made that promise to God that I would do that. So He left me alone for a while. So I went to law school, graduated law school, passed the bar, got a job out of law school, worked in Pittsburgh for a while, came home, opened the practice. And kind of forgot about that promise I had made. So a year or two goes by, things are going well, the practice is picking up, and finally I suddenly and randomly one day remember that promise I had made to him, and I think, and I'm thinking, and I'm kind of upset because I don't want to think about the priesthood anymore. I'm thinking, I graduated law school, I passed the bar, I did all this, the whole world is in front of me, and I want to be able to take hold of it. And the question wouldn't go away. So I took about 5 minutes. I discerned quickly in 5 minutes, completely disingenuous, just a quick, slap shot discernment, and decided, nope, I'm happy where I am, I don't want to be a priest. Another year or two goes by, and the question comes back again, and very seriously and very intensely comes back again, and I realized how disingenuous my promise had been, fulfilling that promise. So I decided it was time to really very seriously look at the priesthood. So I read every vocation website there was out there, and after I exhausted all of those, I went to my pastor in the confessional, so that it was private, and he told me to come to him outside the confessional if I wanted and talk to him there, and then I met up with the vocation director at the time and just kept on taking step after step after step, and it felt comfortable. It felt like coming home, and every step I took was great. So I kept on taking steps until I got here.
What do you think it is? What is it about the ministry of the priesthood that appeals to you?
I mean, that's hard to put my finger on it. Everything about the priesthood is something that I think I'll enjoy and think I'll love. But it's about that relationship with God. It's about that relationship with people, a spiritual relationship with people. But it's about following God's will. And I feel like this is where He wants me to go, and I'm trying to trust Him to lead me in the right way. And every time I engage, I'm loving it. So I'm trusting in the Lord to provide for me, and I expect to be happy and fulfilled in this work.
Does an opportunity such as this gathering here at Chapman Lake help you in your own discernment?
It does. It does, because it's really a countercultural choice to become a priest now. It's really against the grain, and to be with other people that have decided to make that decision themselves, so that you feel like you're a part of a brotherhood, that you're together with them, that helps a lot, and makes you realize that maybe I too am on the right path.
Jonathan, when you have an opportunity to talk with a young man who is also struggling about where God is calling him in life, what exactly would you say to him?
When I first started this recent discernment process, my pastor, Father Joe Ivanko, he told me, the first thing he told me was to live the question. Just live the question every day. That you can't answer it yourself, and you can't answer it without going out and reaching out to the church and reaching out to the Lord in prayer. So you can't answer this question in isolation. You need to live it every day and walk with the Lord and make that decision through prayer, through interaction with the church. So just engage with it. There is a discernment process, and it is a process, and there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you're not going to be spinning your wheels trying to figure out this question. The church will help you, and if you give yourself up to the Lord and allow Him to help you, that question will be answered for you.
How blessed do you feel today that God has brought you to this point?
Great. Every day I'm happier. Every day, the deeper I get into this and the closer I get to actually going down into the seminary at the end of August, I can't wait. I'm very blessed. I'm very excited. It'll be a long road, but I'm well on my way.